Hello and welcome to a new episode of The Ramp. Today we are super excited because we have Mats Radoor with us. He's one of those leading voices in the TA and people space in the Nordics. Mats is currently heading up the people and TA function at e-conomic, a Visma company, and he is here with us today to share his thoughts on AI. Welcome to The Ramp, Mats.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I've been really looking forward to it.
Cool. All right. Very curious to learn a bit more about your background, Mats. I see that you're
Mm,
advisor in some startups. You share a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. Take us a bit through your journey.
yes, yeah. So I'll try to make it as short as possible. But I've been in the people and culture space for now 14 years, mainly in, let's say, tech companies, and been both in the startup space and also in the scale up space. And think I kind of tried all roles in people and culture. So going from HR business partner to communication lead to TA, and now the last couple of, let's say, not couple, but 7 or 8 years have been in leadership roles, either for the entire people and culture team, or now as leader for two teams in a big people and culture team. So I'm leading the TA team and the people operations team. And I think coming from, let's say, the startup space and the scale up space, innovation and, let's say, the focus on the future and how we can leverage tech, especially in the people function, has always been kind of a big topic on my agenda, both personally but also professionally, of course. And that's also where I am today. Like, and especially also in economic, owned by Visma, as you mentioned. AI is basically the talk of the town, as it is in many other companies, but very much in people and culture as well. And I think also as a both from a technical point of view, but also from an ethical point of view. Like, how should we actually use AI when we are working with people and also working
Mm,
with sensitive data, for example? Like, we need to have a point of view on that as well.
mm,
And I think I have tried all the fun stuff in terms of scaling really, really fast. I was actually part of um, hyperscaling, as it was called back in the days.
mm.
I don't know if I can recommend that. It was crazy, and it was.
I think
I felt like you're building an airplane without wings, but you're kind of trying to put a wing on the airplane, and it was flying, and you're very close to be crashing, and so forth. And I've also been part of the not so fun part where you had to kind of descale again, and almost every day look into a big spreadsheet and looking into who should we let go next time in order to have
Mm,
enough runway. So I think right now I'm just in a very sweet spot in economic. We're doing fantastic in terms of our product. We are market leader. We have a ton of customers, happy customers, and we can actually invest in the organization and in people
mm.
and culture, also in AI. So we can actually test, we can research, we can implement, and we can make sure that we work with technology in a good way, and not just implement AI for the sake of AI, but because it makes sense. Yeah.
The size of the team that you have now, you mentioned TA, you mentioned people. What's the size of the operations that you're running now?
So our entire people and culture team is like, I think, 15 right now, but we
Mm,
have quite some people on leave in terms of maternity.
yeah.
But my two teams, so we have three TA partners in our TA
Mm,
team, and then I have people operations where we are four people, and two of them are specialized within people analytics and operational excellence.
mm,
So we are building right now. We have spent quite some time on building a better data foundation in order to be ready to also be more, let's say, equipped to work with AI going forward.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting because we see now you have a bigger HR team. So where do you
Mm.
put your money? It seems like you're building that sort of the foundational stuff to build AI and automation on top of that. Is that the right read in a way?
Yeah. I think that's so. I think I think we have a really solid foundation when you think about the traditional people operations setup. If we take that focus,
Mm,
but we could also see that we were not fully ready to embark on a journey where we should focus more on AI, but maybe also
mm,
just automating our processes.
mm,
Um, In TA, on the other hand, we are very far in terms of working with automated processes, AI, and so forth. But we're definitely putting quite a lot of our money, if you can put it that way, into our people operation setup and building what we right now call People Ops 2.0, which is way more focused on leveraging the systems that we have, building on top of that, and then probably also at some point build in agents, for example, in our HR system, right? Yeah.
So what's yeah, I want to get into the details here. What does your stack look like? Anyway, let's start with TA. It seems quite advanced, as you mentioned. So what's your go-to setup there?
Yeah, so we have Teamtailor as our ATS system. So that's basically our foundation, and we have spent a lot of time optimizing Teamtailor. So because I think you can do quite a lot in Teamtailor, but as I also experience with when I'm talking to other companies, they're actually not utilizing all the opportunities that you have in an ATS system. So Teamtailor is our foundation. Then we actually have a bit of a, even though it's not so sexy, but we have a very advanced sheet, our recruitment overview that is connected to many different data points. But that is actually basically our source of truth. It's connected to the requisition setup in Teamtailor. It's connected to finance, so they can do forecasting. It's connected to our data dashboard. So we are pretty we are on spot in terms of time to hire and so forth. And then we are actually looking into two AI sourcing tool, and I've been talking a bit to you folks, and actually that's a bit of recommendations. So we will definitely also implement an AI sourcing tool right after summer. We are in the final testing part, and we have almost decided which vendor we're going for. So that would be the future stack. Of course, LinkedIn Recruiter and so forth, all of the hygiene stuff. But we don't have any extra AI tools on top of that. We have tested AI in screening, tested it with candidates, got really negative feedback.
Okay.
Removed it again. And then we have analyzed our setup and decided that where we can create the most value right now is actually in sourcing, because our landscape has changed in terms of roles. It's way more complex roles that we're hiring for going forward. We cannot just post and pray as we could previously. Now we need to headhunt. And where can we then be even more efficient and even higher the quality even more? We can do that with AI and sourcing. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
No, that's it's interesting, and I think there's so many players, especially in the sourcing part, because that's the most time-consuming part of recruitment. So there are a variety of tools there and variety of quality as well.
Yeah.
On the people ops side, same type of thinking there. You probably have like an HR system as a backbone, and then trying to utilize or maximize the features there, and then build logic and AI on top of that.
Yeah. So we use Bob. Hi Bob, as it's also called. We started out with the core, now building talent and compensation on top. So basically trying to build almost a one-stop shop. So basically we had all of our development tools and performance tools and different systems. So now we bring it all together. Our payroll process was very much handhold in sheets. We're also taking that into Bob now to make sure that we're a bit more structured, a bit more focused also on governance. So having it in a system. And then we have quite some, to be honest, manual processes that we are trying to convert into flows and task lists in Bob, but also understanding how we can work with agents going forward. So we also it's new to us to work in Claude. So we are basically working very much in Claude now to understand how can we utilize Claude even better. So at some point, I think we will probably build an MCP on top of the API in order to work directly in Claude with Bob, so we can utilize that connection. Yeah.
This is super interesting, Mats. And I think because you're doing a lot of the forward-leading stuff now with AI, you have a bigger talent team, you have some specialist roles, maybe some generalist roles. You're building the data foundation there. A lot of moving parts. When you're looking, I don't know, 3 years ahead, I don't know if you can look 3 years ahead these days, but let's say a year ahead.
You can try.
Like, Do you think will you be hiring fewer HR roles than you thought, or the in the people function, or because of technology, will you hire differently? You mentioned the sourcing tool now.
Mm,
Do you
mm,
think that will replace a sourcer coordinator type of profile in the future, and then you focus more on senior profiles? Like,
mm,
what's your hiring roadmap?
mm. I think it's a really good, really, really good question and valid question, and that's also a question that the business asks me about.
Mm,
Um, we have actually just changed our setup in terms of seniority quite a lot.
mm,
We have hired a new, basically a whole new TA team that is very senior, that can
mm,
work more strategically, that can be more an advisor than just a recruiter.
mm,
So I think for me, so if we work smart with AI, for example, implementing AI in sourcing and can minimize the amount of time that you spend on sourcing, but maybe also way faster build a talent map.
mm,
Um, because that is something that we can see could benefit our business going forward, that we as a TA team can be better at advising the high manager in terms of specific skills in the market, in terms of specific profiles in the market, and can be way better at guiding them in the right direction before they even make the requisition and say, okay, I need this person, I need these skills, let's start the formal process. So even though it's a bit of a vague answer, I think
mm,
going forward, let's say a year ahead, I think it's more about hiring new skills than what we saw previously, where it was very much, at least what I've seen previously, was very much, okay, you get almost like a ticket, then you go higher. No, we need to be way more proactive. We need to start 5 steps before it even comes to the requisition, right?
mm,
Then we need to be involved in the conversations around org changes, low performers, changing skills in a team, setting new directions for teams. We need to be in that conversation in order to take our professional approach, our data, our experience into that conversation and say, okay, yes, you want to hire, let's say, 3 new AI developers. You have never had that before. You don't have a leader that can support that, but you want,
mm,
okay, let's see how fast we can support you from a tier point of view, but also let's be realistic about what you want and what you need and so forth. And this is the salary budget and so forth. I think those conversations, we need to drive that. And we're driving that now. We're not
mm,
100% there, but that's the future conversation. So I think, unfortunately, it's going to be more difficult to be juniors in TA
mm,
because sourcing will probably be done by HR.
mm,
Uh, High volume hires, yeah, in some industries they'll still be there, and then you can take care of that. But in tech, I foresee that the level of complexity for roles will be higher going forward, and that requires better TA and more experienced TA. So I think I would probably say we would hire less juniors, but
mm.
focus on very, not juniors, but highly skilled people. Let's talk about skills instead. Really, really high skilled people that can be a strategic partner.
Mm.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah,
But I
100.
think from an admin point of view, yes, you would probably see that a people operations team would be fewer people going forward if you set up your systems and processes and AI in the right way.
Mm. And I think it's a tough
Mm,
prediction to make, but I think definitely like the future will be obviously very different. The quantity of people that will work in the TA and people space is also very difficult to predict.
mm,
Seniority, as you mentioned, I think the fact that like you're predicting more seniority, I think that's like the sentiment in the market now across
mm,
any type of roles. But I think you have a very interesting point with the strategic workforce planning, that we need to be 5 steps ahead of that requisition
mm,
for a job in a way. And that also leads me a bit to like HR and and the people team's role in organizational design and
mm,
org 2.0 and what that looks like
mm,
in a
mm.
way. So do you think it is, I don't know, people functions job to lead that AI change in the organization? Let's say you have, I don't know, some in the sales team, they might be looking for 3 more SDRs in a way to do some
Mm,
selling. But this could be solved by technology and utilizing
mm,
AI in the right
mm,
way. Is
mm.
that for the people team to drive that adoption and that change? Is that driven by tech and IT? Should that be expected by a forward-leaning CRO to be able to see that?
Mm,
Or like,
mm,
what
mm.
are your thoughts on the impact in the organization?
I think it's 100% a responsibility in the people and culture team, focusing on the adoption part.
Oh.
So we cannot be the experts on technology that can solve, let's say, the sales setup,
Mm,
but we can be the ones driving the change, and especially the mindset change for
mm,
leaders, employees. We can also be the ones driving the adoption in terms of making sure that it's something that is incorporated in the, let's say, development plans, in the performance reviews, in the strategy of the different departments. So
mm,
there's some different, let's say, there's some different tweaks that we can support.
mm,
But for me, I see the whole AI adoption very much as actually as a cultural thing, but also as a mindset thing. And I think people and culture needs to be leading that. So
mm,
if you have a people leader or a CHRO that is looking into to their business and can see like, okay, we're not where we're supposed to be in terms of AI. Some departments are exploring a tiny bit. We have maybe built a nice little chatbot, but can see that we're not driving the entire people agenda. Then I would definitely recommend that you that you start thinking about, okay, how can we, from a people and culture point of view, impact the business in terms of adopting AI better? Because for me, it's also about, like, as you also know, some people are a bit hesitant when it comes to change, and working with AI is a change. Like thinking every day, okay, I need to maybe build my, let's say, presentation format in Claude first instead of building like 10 slides on my own. Just as an example, right? It's a small change, but for some people, that's actually a big change. And we need to drive that mindset change that all employees start thinking about, okay, how can AI benefit my role and my task? How can I work smarter? How can I have higher quality? How can I work better with other people in terms of utilizing AI? So I think people and culture definitely play a big part in terms of the AI adoption, and then collaborate with the different departments and how that could look like in their departments, right?
mm. And
Mhm.
how does then the people team measure their success of that impact? Do you measure AI adoption? Do you measure productivity? What are good metrics to
Mm.
do a health check?
We actually survey on both change management but also AI adoption in our engagement survey. So that's one way to do it, to see if we kind of come closer to a workforce that is, for example, have the right tools that they need, they have the right
Mm,
education and training that they need, that they feel. We also measure on confidence level. Are you confident with working with AI? And that is actually connected to change management as well, because we not that it's like 100% interlinked, but there is still a synergy between AI adoption and then be ready for change. So we are focusing on those two, let's
mm,
call them parameters, in our engagement survey. I think it could be interesting to look into productivity. They do that in different departments, especially in our product department. They have set up a whole system around productivity, but that's also a bit, to be honest, a bit easier when you can measure the amount of time you spend on deploying stuff and so forth. But we should be able to help other departments on that. I don't have the perfect answer right now,
mm.
but it could be, for us in TA. It should be time to hire, right?
Yeah.
It should be, maybe we could also look at conversion rates in terms of
Mm,
sourcing. We could also look at least we should be very much aware of, we also survey all of our candidates on the candidate experience. That should definitely also be a key metric for us, that we keep a high score on that
mm,
working with AI should not lower that. So maybe it's more like there needs to be like a threshold, or there needs to be a minimum of rating that we would like to achieve. Also, when we work with AI going forward, right? Yeah.
I think it's difficult to perfectly measure this, and you can implement a lot of different variables and metrics, but sometimes you get stuck in that sort of vanity metrics in a way, which isn't moving the needle. And I think more on maybe overall HR in the future then, like it's been historically named the cost center. AI is hopefully supposed to fix that so HR can be called more strategically, or more strategic. Then how do you see that? How do you see HR and people in combination with AI driving the business forward? What does that look like in the future?
Of course, I'm being a bit hurt on my people and culture feeling when we are defined as a cost center. Of course, we are a cost center. I think all departments are a cost center, right?
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I have been talking about this before. Like, I think just to begin with, you have a problem in your organization if people and culture or HR is being seen as just a cost center. Then we can talk about AI afterwards. But you have an essential problem if you haven't been able to communicate to the business and the management team what value you bring, both in terms of, let's say, the more people-oriented stuff, but also in terms of the financial stuff. Like, you should be able to communicate. For example, I know I'm using TA here, but I think TA is a good example. If you don't bring in the right profiles at the right time, that will have an impact on the financial setup, right? That could be in the commercial department. It could also be in the product team. Let's say you don't hire those developers that needs to work on a very specific product that is on your roadmap, that is specifically connected to a revenue stream that the finance team has budgeted and reported to the board. That is aligned directly to revenue, right? If the TA team cannot hire those people. I know it's a combination also with the hiring managers, of course, but I think if you haven't been able to explicit communicate to the business how important it is to bring in the right people at the right time, and we have a TA team that can do that. We can show it with the time to hire metrics and the quality of hires and so forth. Then you have a problem. Then it doesn't really matter if you can put AI on top of that. If you don't run a good people setup that has communicated and shown as well with a track record that you provide the business with real support and real value, then forget about talking about how AI will solve things going forward. But if you have that, then I think you need to show real use cases to the management team, but also to the business. Like, spend a bit of extra time on actually building a case around an AI initiative and really show what kind of value it brings. I think for us, we will definitely build a case around AI sourcing. Because for me, that's not just AI for the sake of AI. We've actually analyzed our processes, our offerings, and so forth, and we have decided that this is actually a part or a step in our process where we can actually minimize the amount of time that we use. We can probably also build better pipelines. We can probably also be faster at talent mapping, and we can always deliver faster and better data to the hiring managers. And then we just need to figure out how we calculate the cost of hire, for example, if we can, say, minimize time to hire with 5 days or 10 days, for example. So I think AI, and also AI, if we talk more broadly in people and culture, then what I talked about previously in terms of being able to work smarter in, for example, Bob with an agent. And we can also give that self-service to our leaders, for example, so they don't need to make requests all the time to us, and they can just do what they want to do and get the data that they want to do. I think that's also a use case that we need to figure out how we can explain to the business that will make us more efficient, because we maybe can cut the interaction and the request part, and the leaders can basically prompt on their own what they need from a people data point. Yeah. So spend some time on those use cases. I think that's important.
Yeah, I like that. So first advice: fix the fundamentals. If the business is not believing that people function is moving the needle, then there's a big communication job to be made. And then secondly, if you add the AI layer to that, then it's all about building those business cases and use cases where you can show the impact of those initiatives. So I
I
think
agree
that's
with your point, Tor. I think it's extremely important, and that's what we are focusing on and are almost done with. I think if you don't have the foundation, and if you don't know how to, for example, structure all your data, validate your data, present your data, explaining your data, for example, then it's difficult for you to add AI on top of that, right? And if you don't know how to run smooth and lean processes in terms of onboarding, offboarding, employee cases, for example, warnings and so forth, then AI won't help you.
Mm.
Mm.
You implemented AI in screening, and then that was an unpopular move. You pulled it out. To give us a bit of an understanding of that, I don't know, fuck up or the challenge that you
Yeah,
saw there.
yeah. Yeah, I will try not to call the fuck up, but
Yeah.
an experiment at least.
Experimentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So at some point in our organization, we were very much focused on high volume in terms of a specific department, and we were looking into, okay, how can we utilize our time better than just being in a lot of screening calls.
Mm.
So it was mainly for the screening part. So we looked into different screening options, and then we tested. I don't want to name the company, but we tested a company that could offer like basically a screening call with an AI agent. So you actually just joined a video call like this, and then it was an AI agent that interviewed you. So of course we set the AI agent up for success with all the information that the AI agent needed, our way of asking questions, our interviews, all of that good stuff. So it was prepped, but we did it as a test phase where we
Mm.
also let our candidates know. Listen, for this role, we'll invite you into this environment. It's a test. Please give us feedback. And to be honest, the feedback was very clear. That was not a good candidate experience. Like I think no one mentioned that this was okay. Um,
Mm.
maybe in now, because it was like quite some time ago, maybe now where AI is more, let's say, ingrained in everything we do, maybe people have kind of also changed their mindset and be like, okay, fair enough. I need to work with AI. Maybe it's okay that an AI agent is interviewing me. But at that point, the feedback was very negative, and
Yeah.
that's why we said, okay, let's kill that. It was fun. We experimented. We became wiser in terms of what our candidates they want and what they need.
Mm.
And we have such a big focus on our candidate experience. I think if I can do a bit of humble brag, I think
Yeah. Please
what
do.
right now differs us from many other companies is our candidate experience.
Mm.
And you can see that in our feedback from our candidates, like the way we communicate, the way we behave, the way we make it like human. Even though a lot of the things that we do is automated, it's done by AI, it still feels human. And you can always connect with a human being.
Mm.
um, I'm very proud of the fact that we actually have built a solid foundation where people, when they apply and when they get rejected and so forth, they still give us a high score in terms of the candidate experience. So that was also the reason why we took out the AI agent for interviews. It would not give a good candidate experience, at least based on our testing phase. So
Mm.
that's a very clear example of at least what we thought AI is not a benefit for us. And also we also communicate to our candidates that it's a human being that is screening applications. We don't use AI to screen
No.
candidates or applications. Yeah.
Are you guys seeing a big influx of applications with AI these days? Has it increased a lot?
The amount?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big problem what we see in like that we hear about in the US, especially with AI predictions
Mm.
and difficult to handle top of funnel and agent based job seeking.
Yeah.
And that's a
Mm.
difficult. Yeah, it will be a challenge with massive top of funnel activity in
Yeah.
the future, maybe, and also
Mm.
with AI Act, also in terms of
Mm.
human in the loop. Yeah,
Mm.
but
Mm.
it seems like you haven't sort of seen a big uptick yet.
No, we haven't seen it. So maybe we're just in a way lucky that
Yeah.
we haven't been overwhelmed
Yeah.
by a lot of applicants. But what we can see is that um, I'm very sorry to the candidates that are might listening into this, but we see quite a lot of AI sloppiness now
Mm.
in our
Mm.
applications. Um, People are so basically, when you apply for a job at economic, you cannot upload a motivated a motivational letter. So you can only
Mm.
answer these specific questions, and if you want to, you can upload your CV as well. But we do see in these very role specific questions that people forget to remove their prompts. You can see that they maybe haven't read through what they ask AI to answer for them. So I think that is the difficult part for us. That is actually to understand, should we be biased by the fact that there's a bit of AI sloppiness, or should we be able to look beyond that and still see if the candidate is valid or not? So I think that's a bigger struggle for us, to be honest.
Mm.
That I would say all candidates, of course, use AI. Fair enough. That's totally fine. We do as well. But I think we do see quite a lot of sloppiness, and I think that's a shame that when you apply for a job, you don't
Yeah.
you just take the AI answer or the AI example and just copy paste it right into the application. Yeah.
Mm. And that brings me also further down the funnel in the process. So, um, when it comes to, I don't know, case interviews, I don't know if you run personality or ability testing, but
Mm,
especially
mm,
with case interview or work sample testing,
mm,
I find a lot of companies struggling these days with like,
mm.
what do we measure and can we predict job performance? Back in the days, you would typically like send out a take home assignment. That person needed to build a slide deck and present a
Mm,
business case and then, or do some programming. But with AI now, it's like, it's good that they're using AI to solve a case, but at the same
mm.
time, it's difficult to understand their reflections. So, how are you guys solving assessment across the different functions?
Yeah, very. I think that's actually one of the most interesting discussions you can have
Mm.
in hiring these days. I think that's the assessment part. So we use case interviews as well.
Mm.
Um, we 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 also do personality tests and ability tests.
Mm.
I think the way we structure our case interviews is that you will have to do a bit of prep at home, but you always need to present it. So you will present it physically in an interview situation with hiring manager and TA. And we have a very structured approach to how to kind of go deep into that case
Mm.
interview. So in the physical interaction, we ask a ton of questions to make sure that they can reflect and not just present.
Mm.
But I will also turn a bit around. I also do expect that they actually use AI to solve the case.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also for me like it would also be weird if we are hiring for a highly specialized role, maybe on what we call IC4, IC5. They need to deliver, let's say, future things for economic. It would also be
Mm.
weird if they said like, I haven't used AI for this case at all.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
haven't even, opened Claude to get some sparring or whatever. So I think it's a bit of a balance, right? But I think you need to be very specific in the interaction
Mm.
that the candidate is not just presenting, but they also do reflect. So you have
Mm.
to really push them in that meeting,
Mm.
not to
Mm.
be, you know, uh, mean or anything like that,
No.
but you have to really make sure that you as a TA team and you as a high man understand the pitfalls in the case and where you need to kind of be very active in terms of asking. If you don't get concrete answers, if you don't get those reflections, then you just need to keep pushing for those. Because I think what AI, at least in my opinion, cannot do right now is to take over our ability to reflect on the spot.
Yeah.
And when I hire a specialist on IC4, IC5, I need them to be able to reflect on the spot, or at
Mm.
least, okay, fair enough, they can have a bit of thinking time if that's needed. Some people need that, and that's totally fair.
Mm.
But they need to
Mm.
be able to solve it on the spot. And I think that's it can sound a bit fluffy and a bit old school, but I think actually that's where a good TA team and a good hire manager comes into play, is that they say, fine, that you present, but we want to go deeper than that. And I think that can show if the candidate is good enough, and if it's a candidate is skilled enough, or if it's a candidate is just basically leaning back and relying on the AI presentation, for example. Yeah. And then, of course, we also do use the test, the ability test, to see if they're cognitive, strong enough, and also if they, in our setup, in our test setup, we can also put in the competencies that we're looking for. So, of course, we also look into that. Do they actually have a high enough score on those competencies? So forth.
Makes sense. I think in this case, just to try to summarize your reflections there, use multiple methods, but for the case or work sample, make sure they present it and you challenge and you get that sort of on the top or in the setting type of reflection stuff, and if they really understand what AI spat out, basically.
Yeah.
No, but that is very, very good. I was just also thinking about like the future competencies. If you think about that sort of adaptability, growth mindset, have you guys changed your competency model and what you're looking for in people? And question one, what type of skills or competencies are those? And second, how do you actually measure that, like the future readiness of that candidate?
I can easily answer number one.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bit more difficult for me to answer number two, just to be completely honest. And I don't want to sit here and say a lot of stuff that we haven't done. I think we actually had quite a big focus on what we call future capabilities. We did that in 2025. We did some workshops with different departments, mainly our very big product department and customer support department, to understand, okay, what do you see actually in the future? What kind of skills do you see? And very much was focused on the skills that the capabilities that we're looking for going forward. It's very much growth mindset. And that can mean a lot of things. But for us, it means that you are very curious. You're eager to learn, because right now in the time that we're in, you're being introduced to so many things. Some of them are being introduced to you, and some of them you need to find on your own. So the curiosity part and the learning part, so that's also connected to your cognitive ability, but also open for feedback and changing things and so forth. And that leads to the next one, which is, I think, a bit classic, but being what's it called, like being open for changes. So adaptability. So being able to see how a new situation can be solved in a different way, how a situation that was not planned can be tackled, even though it changes everything that you have done so far. So it's okay to be like a bit bummed out, but then you need to start thinking about, okay, how to move further from this. And then we have, right now, I think we call it digital fluency. And for us, that means that you need to be aware of the technology that is important within your role or department, basically. So in our team, for example, that is our systems, but also AI and products is very much around coding, right? Are we saying no to manual coding? Should everything just be within AI and so forth? But you need to be able to work with that. So that's the three future capabilities that we're kind of not fully implemented, but we're using very much also in TA, for example. And how to measure it? We haven't. I just have to be honest. We haven't made a beautiful setup around that. Yeah, but it needs to be a part of, let's say, performance reviews. It needs to be part of development talks and so forth. Yeah.
With the AI, we talked about it earlier. Then you will have probably a bit more senior team being a bit more strategic. Would you also then expect more efficiency and productivity out of the team in a way, if AI is handling
Mm,
parts of their job, because that's a big discussion that we have now. Like screening notes now are more easily automated.
mm, mm,
Prep
mm,
research work is it more
mm,
automated now.
mm,
Job description or job ad
mm,
writing.
mm.
So there are all of these things that AI can help us with. Either you increase quality, so like you spend the same amount of time, but like quality increases, or
Mm, mm.
you like decrease time, or you do both
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
So, but the question is like, where is that time going? You know, and I think that's the question that a lot of companies are asking themselves. Are we seeing this on the bottom line? Are we seeing this
Mm,
in our
mm,
metrics? So, what
mm.
are your thoughts there for your people team?
Mm, to be honest, I hope we will get more time to focus on quality,
Mm,
because in some periods we have also been in lack of resources, and then when you're in lack of resources, you also move some things as fast as you can, but maybe you don't stop up and actually think about the quality of delivery and so forth. So for me, I think I hope it will actually impact our level of quality to the business.
mm,
But also going back to what we discussed earlier, I want my teams to be closer to the business.
mm,
I want my teams to be in those discussions that have an impact directly on people and culture.
mm,
And that requires that you have time. And that requires that you have an understanding of that is your job, that is your duty to be active or be proactive. Because
mm,
you cannot just lean back and think, okay, the hiring manager or the business will just come here and share everything that they know, and then you can do your job. You need to be out there. So I
mm,
think giving giving time to that by using AI where it makes sense, that is one
mm,
of the best things that I expect that we will be able to do more of.
mm.
Because it actually requires a bit of time to be out in the business and
Yeah.
squeeze yourself into those conversations, or be like, okay, I just heard that over there. Maybe I should grab a hold of that person to understand how
Mm,
that impacts us. So yeah, but I can see so many potentials right now.
mm,
So it's a long backlog that we have,
mm,
especially right now in our people operations team, that
mm.
I think can unlock a lot of time for our people and culture team.
It's going to be interesting to see how that time is going to be reallocated and to see if we can actually move the needle on quality. And I think different companies will approach it different in a way,
Mm,
depending
mm,
on their situation and where they want to invest. Um, I'm also a bit curious because you guys have tested a lot of different tools and workflows. Is innovation in the people team, is that bottom up or is it top down in a way? Are people in your team too busy doing their day-to-day stuff while you and maybe some colleagues have more capacity to look at the more strategic, look at the future and then look at tools and assess? Or do you see innovation happening bottom up from a functional level and I don't know, maybe a junior level and upwards?
I think it's actually a combination. For some
Mm,
projects or for some initiatives, it has been more driven from a strategic point of view. So maybe me and the leadership team, and for some projects or initiatives, it have been driven by the team members. Um, I would say I have some very skilled and curious team members that are driving very much or driving a huge chunk of our innovation, I would say.
mm,
Um, I have so last year we had two team members driving a whole project about amplifying people and culture with AI. They did a lot of they did a huge AI audit, so actually just understanding the work that we had, so all of our processes, all of our tasks, and then getting a like an audit in terms of the time that we could save and so forth, or could we automate it, could we add AI? So they did like a really great job around understanding our state of nation, and then they came with a use case that we implemented, and then
mm,
they kind of also did some trainings in AI, and that was bottom up, and I really like that. But there's also some things that I have been focused on driving, because maybe I have some information from the business, maybe I know that something is coming, and we can already start prepping to be able to solve that. But my employee that is moving in, or has moved into this operational excellence role, she's also very much focused on looking into um, initiatives that can future proof our people and culture team. Yeah.
mm. One thing with AI that's quite interesting is learning and development, and how people can do self-study, how you can have, I don't know, a sidekick in a way and a coach in those one-to-one conversations with managers or in interviews. They could get feedback from the AI if you provide the right context. So are you guys doing any like AI enabled learning, not on AI topics specifically, but more using AR or software to have people do easier self-study or do like sparring on how
No,
they work?
actually not. Then it's more on an individual level. If someone has agreed to do that together with the leader, or just decide on their own that they can do that. So it's actually not something that we have focused on. Maybe we will, maybe not. I think we are very much focused on understanding the business needs. So when, for example, we do leadership development, we don't do like one like off the shelf solution. Each year we understand what is the need of the business, and then we roll that out. So, but maybe that could be. I'm not saying we won't do it. I'm just saying it's not something that we have been looking into that could solve, let's say, the coaching part with a leader, for example. Yeah.
Now, moving towards second half of 2026, what's on your plate? What are either the upside opportunities that you're working on or the problems that you're facing in the organization now, and what's your plan to fix it?
I think definitely is. I will talk about so one exciting thing is the AI sourcing part that will be implemented in the beginning or just after summer. Basically, I think that's a game changer for us, at least in TA. Then I have a big project around our operational processes that are too manual at this time, and we need to change that either with focusing on automating or building workflows or having an agent sorting some of it. I think from a bigger point of view, if we talk about our organization, then I think actually what we just talked about in terms of AI adoption, I think we have a bit of way to go yet in terms of maybe making a more structured approach to how we actually see AI as a skill or as a expectation that all of our employees needs to be working on. So I have thought about, should we have some kind of baseline, like all employees need to be able to do this within, let's say, Claude or Gemini, or at least on some levels within specific departments. Because I also acknowledge that some roles, it doesn't make that much sense that you're picture perfect in working in Claude and can make presentations in 2 minutes and so forth. But I think we should work on having a baseline for what we expect from our employees in terms of AI. But that's the bigger thing, and I don't have the right solution right now. But it is something that I'm trying to talk to my organization about. Like, should we have a more structured approach? And I think we'll start that also in our people and culture team. So a small thing that I've done is that I've asked all of my employees to have an AI development goal. That is mandatory. And then we focus on where they are on their journey, but it is a requirement that they focus on AI as a development focus. Yeah.
Very good, strong closing comments there, Mats. Seems like you have interesting stuff ahead of you. Thank you so much for joining the ramp and sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me. It was really, really fun.